Hi, my name is Linnea Beyer, and I'm the film curator for The Light Factory. And I'm going to talk to you today about Don Hertzfeldt, who we're bringing in April as part of the Luminary Lecture Series. I first saw Don's short Billy's Balloon about a decade ago when I was in college. It was a part of the Black Mariah Film Festival, which is a really prestigious touring festival of the best experimental shorts in the world. And of all of the great things that I saw, Billy's Balloon was the thing that stood out the most. So fast forward a couple years, moved to Charlotte, and I helped one of our guests, Jeff Jackson, with the Noda Film Festival, and we do an animation festival. I'm like, you've got to bring Billy's Balloon. It's just the best thing ever. Everybody I've shown the short to has loved it and fell in love with Don's work, but his work progresses in a way that's really meaningful and really thoughtful, and a lot of people are surprised that they would fall in love with something that is really stick figures. But his work speaks to a lot of people, and even though it is, again, stick figures, it's still art, and it's awesome art, and we're going to talk about it today.
Hi, I'm Paul Cotter. I teach photography at Davidson Day School.
I'm Tanya Jameson. I'm just a consumer of pop culture and art.
I'm Jeff Jackson. I'm the arts and culture editor for Charlotte Viewpoint.
Okay, guys, everybody saw the work that I sent out. We're going to watch a couple truncated clips today, and I'm going to start off with Billy's Balloon because it's the one that I introduce him with, and it's indicative of his early work. There's a lot of slapstick to it, so I'm going to watch a little bit of it. Feel free to talk over it, laugh hysterically, all that fun stuff. I like how he's cross-eyed. Just kind of sets the scene.
He's the most expressive stick figures of just about anyone.
Yeah.
I like how he takes his time to let things happen. The pacing of it, he doesn't rush.
We have to let that little kid get really annoying.
Great time.
The sound effects are just so good.
Can't wait to ask him what that noise is.
You never take away from the really hitting the kids sound effect.
And so it progresses.
Boy,
We don't want to.
progress.
Gets more
We
violent.
don't want to give too much away. But Billy's Balloon, what did you guys think?
I thought that's what it must be like to be the little things inside the rattle when you have a little kid just shaking it. I was like, that kid's getting what to do to him.
Yes. Yes, he is.
I just love the simplicity of it. Like, I think a lot of people look at something like this, and like any art, they see something really simple, and they say, well, heck, I could do that. And I don't think realizing how hard it is to do something that simple and that good.
I mean, the comic timing of it is so precise and so brilliant, and the way that it slowly builds and the way that it sort of creates these expectations and then keeps topping them again and again. Just when you think you have an idea of where it's going, it goes someplace else and goes someplace even more outrageous and more funny.
Well, and I should note that he's actually a very skilled artist. He has these amazing life drawings, and there's a short he has called Genre where you can really see that he is very skilled at animating things that look very lifelike and that are much more complex than this. He very specifically chooses to animate stick figures, and one of the reasons is he wants people to be able to project themselves on the character, and the simpler the character is, the more everybody should be able to project themselves on the character.
And I think this simple character, too, just draws you in even more because you use your imagination a lot more than, today's animation. There's just so elaborate with what you have. But when you take it back to this, you have to really just kind of use your own imagination again.
Well, and you have to be engaged. He makes you think.
But there's no safety in it, too, in terms of the story, in terms of the comedy. He can't sort of get away with using great CGI backgrounds or anything like that to distract you. Like, he really has to rely on the main story he's telling.
Right.
He does it really
But how many movies have we seen now where it's just like all special? They put billions into special effects, and you're like, what was the story about again?
Right. It just looked really cool. It just looked cool.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Well, This is kind of indicative of the slapstick and the silliness, but he actually does get a little bit more advanced as far as the ideas that he brings into his films. And in 2006, he released a short called Everything Will Be Okay. And the film that he'll be premiering, It's Such a Beautiful Day, is the final part in a trilogy about a mysterious man named Bill that all of these films are about. So we're going to watch the first maybe 45 seconds of Everything Will Be Okay.
Bill dropped his keys on the counter and stood there staring at them, suddenly thinking about all the times he'd thrown his keys there before, and how many days of his life were wasted repeating the same tasks and rituals in his apartment over and over again. But then he wondered if, realistically, this was his life, and the unusual part was his time spent doing other things.
How sad and true is that?
Especially when you consider, the idea that we're projecting ourselves on these stick figures, it makes me think like, man, life is so awfully, dreadfully mundane and monotonous.
It makes it seem even more mundane when it's stick
Right,
figures and the
right,
backgrounds
shows
are
us
so
our life.
plain and yeah.
What I didn't get on this one, there was a bunch of people posted on YouTube where they were watching the clip, and people were writing, "I found this hilarious. My sides were splitting." Did you guys find this one funny? I mean, I found it like sad and touching and thought-provoking, but I wasn't laughing a lot.
But you never know, they could be drinking or smoking.
I have to say,
you're watching it sober.
I thought it was it's incredibly melancholy for sure, but as it goes along, I thought there are parts of it that do become very funny.
I think there are parts of it that are funny and there are parts of it are sad, and because he uses both of them, they cut deeper than if it was just sad or just funny.
Right.
Because to me, when he's showing all those repetitive motions, I mean, it's kind of funny. You laugh at first, especially if you laugh because it's a stick figure.
Right.
And then it's like, ha ha, oh.
Well, then he develops like psychosis, and he goes into some like really like kind of off the deep end. The neat thing is I found myself thinking about this afterwards, which I think is a good sign of art. Like, is it stay with you afterwards? Like, what do you think? Why would you say this is art?
I think the idea, like we said before, of basically you're projecting yourself on these stick figures, and you have to use your imagination, and you have to put yourself in that position. I mean, how many times do we put our keys there, or we do these routines that make up our everyday lives? And it makes you think about the things that you do, and I think that's what makes it art, is that you take the time out to think and be engaged, like Linnea said.
Yeah, he really boils something down to its essence here with this in terms of what life can be like and how sort of stultifying it can be at times. And then, as it sort of builds and gets more outrageous, it's not just that. I think some of the humor comes also from, some of it does get dark, and that's sort of where it's, for me, where it was funny because it was so sort of unexpected in terms of where it was going and where his visions and hallucinations were coming from. And then where it ends up at the end was also like very surprising. I kept sort of never being sure where it was going to end up.
The thought process was really interesting. It was just very random, kind of the way our brains work.
Right,
it just
exactly.
jumped from, okay,
Yeah.
he's talking about cryogenics, and then it's like, okay, I lost my keys, and it just, I found that for
Right.
17 minutes of just kind of hip-hopping around to different places.
So if you want to find out what happens to the mysterious man named Bill, you can check it out in the premiere of It's Such a Beautiful Day, Don's latest work, at Charlotte Crown Point Cinemas on Saturday, April 14th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are already on sale. We've sold quite a few. You can find them at our website, www.lightfactory.org. And Don will be there in person, so you can ask him just what he was smoking when he developed these lovely little shorts.